You think they would have had enough of silly love songs? Take 28 seconds and let's get in the mood real quick.
Then you mean to tell me, say,
Feel
you
the
never do him
lyrics.
nothing, and him just fat up your eyes up?
It's true.
Assalamu alaikum, you big hater. You nothing but a hater. Cloud chaser. You're mad, I'm back. Big mad, he's mad, she's mad. Big sad, ha ha. Don't care, stay mad.
Then you mean to tell me, say, you never do him nothing, and him just fat up.
All right. So you may or may not have noticed the scrolling on the bottom there. That's a headline that says basically TSA data confirms that SFO, San Francisco Airport, received the lowest amount of passengers of any other airport in the nation because of apparently because of COVID. In other words, the least amount of people have come to San Francisco in this particular time. So anyway, so I have another post about this, kind of explaining kind of spells and why certain people seem to be aligned with the devil and pretty evil and kind of fairly intense accusations. And it's like, why would I make accusations of those sorts? And that's one of them. So you can see, I just literally not even a few hours ago made a post all about that. And was wondering to myself and kind of asked the world, like, yo, like, it's kind of crazy, like, for me to kind of come to those conclusions that a lot of these things that are happening that would seem to be out of my control may be happening because of spells or my desires or my prayers and things like that. And then on CBS, a channel that I don't see very often, I turn on the TV and first thing I see is that that news headline that yes, it is very odd that Queen's Flip was out here over the weekend, no matter how you put it. Yeah, just that. I wanted to share that real quick. But also this thing from Fat Joe. The funny thing about Fat Joe is that Fat Joe's acting, they're pretty much the same, him and Queen's Flip right now. And if you listen to him, you would think that he would handle the situation differently than Queen's Flip. And they're both kind of in the same realm here. But anyway, so take a listen real quick.
I stuck up Mr. Softy, bro. I did the most.
Before I say this, he does talk for about a minute, but listen, just it is important to listen to what he says.
I stuck up Mr. Softy, bro. I did the most pettiest shit you could do in the world. And I let my mind grow. I grew wisdom. And now all I try to do is help people give back. I just don't understand grown men my age that still want to think, that are thinking at the same level that they thought of 25 years ago. I don't get it. And if you want to keep doing that, as much as I love you, I can't really be around you because we on two different missions. Because you a grown-ass man and you trying to think as petty as we thought when we was kids. We all was petty, right? But you could grow out of that.
You can.
And sometimes, these people don't want to grow. Then they get mad at you for growing.
Exactly.
Like, yo, I like this path. I like helping people and changing. And it may lead to some greatness that I was really born for. But then they get scared because they say, damn, this guy's really growing. This guy's really trying to move different. And they get mad at you. But to everybody out there, man, you can change. That's the moral of this whole conversation here. Softy, bro. I've did the most pettiest shit you could do in the world.
All right, so summary on that. It's ironic, right? Because Fat Joe's saying, I can't even understand how people, granted I'm younger than him, but people around my age and shit, how they be doing this shit all petty and trying to act like they were acting 25 years ago and they don't want to grow. And yet, if here's a situation with Fat Joe, no different, not a lot different, I should say, than Queen's Flip. In the sense of, for Fat Joe, I got a very simple question. I have now done hundreds of posts. I've done a remix. I've done a whole bunch of things that is very difficult to disregard. And yet, he's really acting more than 25 years ago. At the very least, when I was in the same kind of vicinity with him physically and everything else. In the sense, my only question is, back in the day, somehow I ended up around some of the people that said that they knew him. They told me that TS stood for the Suicidals. Then years later, then I heard, oh, TS stands for Terror Squad. I've always wondered why the fuck somebody told me TS stood for the Suicidals. At this point, it seems as if the only person there is to ask is him. Not, it doesn't seem to be, shouldn't be that big of a deal. Yet this is how intense he's going to the point of not wanting to answer that question and really acting petty. I mean, you can't get more petty than this. I mean, like, he's acting as if hundreds of posts he has nothing to do with. There's lots of it's difficult to believe. So anyway, so there's that. Anyway, a week ago, what was happening exactly a week ago? The reason, let me just back up a second. The reason I want to touch on this is a week ago is when Ma'Khia Bryant died. I've already kind of mentioned there's a relation with when Kobe Bryant died. Apparently, there's some kind of Bryant connection. It just is what it is. Anyway, on top of that, so that's when she died. But a week ago is also when, as you can see, is when I ended up doing these posts to Michael Che. Now, the whole thing about Michael Che, I want to kind of, that's what I want to do, is kind of connect that for other people as well. So as you can see too, like, how crazy is that? My comment ended up being right next to Sharon Stone's on Snoop Dogg's live a week ago when he was smoking weed, the day that a Bryant as well died, apparently. The whole kind of relation of Queen's Flip and Ma'Khia and fucking Queen's Flip that is, and Michael Che, sorry man, is the 30 Rock shit. I was gonna work at 30 Rock for a second, but there was a friend of mine that was gonna get me a job there. One of the main reasons I ever even entered a Queen's Flip Live in the first place was trying to get a hold and attention of this particular person, the person that was gonna get me a job at NBC as well, working with him. That did happen. So in other words, I was in Queen's Flip's lives, and then it seemed that from commenting in his lives, the friend that I had who was acting as if didn't know me and didn't have any connection with me, even though at one point in time was such a close friend that was going to get me a job, that friend reached out to me around the same time that I was commenting in Queen's Flip's lives. Now this is a couple years ago. So that's that connection with Michael Che. It's connected through Queen's Flip as well as through Michael Che. I'm not exactly sure why, because again, these posts that I did with Michael Che, they actually just kind of like, the best way I could put it to you is almost like from God or some other force or whatever. Like that's why those came up. And the whole reason the Ma'Khia Bryant thing is a big deal as well is because that particular post, I wrote it when I had only seen an edited clip of the video. So in other words, I only saw parts of what they released of the body cam footage. And when I saw that, it seemed to me as if the officer had no reason at all to shoot her. Afterwards, I still feel as if he shouldn't have shot her, but it is incorrect, or it is different than what I wrote. And I was gonna do another post to kind of correct it, and I didn't. The reason why it's a kind of a connection with that is Fat Joe also made a big deal about the fact that it was this big knife or whatever. And when I was in his live stream, I made it a big deal to keep commenting that it wasn't a knife and there was other alternatives and things like that. So in other words, it's just simply, I was incorrect. I didn't correct it. I didn't correct it for a certain reason. But now I have the opportunity to correct it, and that's that. So that, I'm correcting that as it is in case anybody's paying attention, there was a point in time in which I had believed that the officer had absolutely no reason to have shot her. Now it's a little bit different, is all I can say. With that, it's not all I can say, is really, yeah, for right now. Also, I have written about that 7-year-old who was killed in Chicago. And then, there's that 7-month-old child that died here in San Francisco recently. So that kind of ties all that back up, as far as kind of like the whole weirdness of the conclusions of like, yo, why are you saying these people seem to be, involved with really evil things, and what can kind of confirm that is, in summary, I had just done a post referring to kind of the events of the last couple of months, the last month or so, involving both Fat Joe and Queen's Flip and just the world in general, and things that supposedly should be kind of like not related and out of our control. And then I also kind of said to kind of the world or God or whatever, like, yo, that seems kind of crazy. Like, what, like, it just seems kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Like, what else? Is there anything else that kind of like says that it is very odd that Queen's Flip was out here and he didn't reach out to me, and he's ignoring all these comments, and it's just mad shady. Like, it's just mad shady. Like, isn't it shady? And basically, God's like, yo, yeah, look at that headline. That headline just says, yo, the most amount of people, or the least amount of people came to San Francisco, and for some reason you're telling me this nigga from Queens had to be out here this fucking weekend. And there's also kind of other things involved with that. And then the time of the Fat Joe thing, as far as his live tonight. Also, I forgot the name of the person that he's on there with. But dude, there's a lot of shit that he talked about. Or some of the things that he talked about, he should actually have some kind of understanding exactly what I'm talking about with this shit. As far as it's kind of different, but I think he said some shit about the subconscious things and things they kind of manifest. That's a very base. It's a kind of it is a universal truth law thing that he was talking about too. It's a kind of a base to how a lot of these things happen. And when it comes down to like, yo, how could Fat Joe and all these people get into it? It may be just ego. It could be God telling them that at some point they should humble themselves. I don't know what the fuck it is. But one way or the other, as you can imagine, because they're at a different place and they interact with different people, so whether it be spiritually or otherwise, it becomes a very different thing if they're basically involved in what this is, which is criminal activity, child abuse, hurting children. It's different, and so the consequences for them and others would be different as well. It is what it is. Like I said, if you don't have experience with this stuff, I could understand that it can sound a little much, and whether it be Fat Joe or Queen's Flip or really anyone, because everybody's up to a certain point in the same boat of it, where it's like, I'm just basically asking for help. That's it. I understand that it can look different, but that's the facts. I'm just asking for help, and for the most part, unless you're an evil person, and I don't want to just say unless because there's other things too, but for the most part, it would benefit you to help me. It's literally more than likely something that you've asked for, something you're wanting, something that God has kind of put for you. And if for whatever reason, you can ignore this, or you're looking at this and going like, nah, man, like why would I help? It's like, then you can see why there would be negative consequences both ways, and positive, and it goes, it gets a little more complicated. I can't read your fucking mind. I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm telling you what's in my mind and what's happening. So hopefully that's a little bit more of an explanation, and hopefully you can have a little bit of a better understanding as to why I don't think I'm crazy, but also at the same time, crazy shit like this, where it's like it does seem as if there are consequences that would be expected from my spells, my desire, my work, to have certain things happen, and the reason why it could be possible that these things that seemingly seem non-related or wouldn't be affected by I wouldn't be able to have the power over, or even Fat Joe or even Queen Slip, and yet it seems as if we are. It's because it is because what it is. So summary of what's going on and what's up with Queen's Flip, Fat Joe, and me. Enjoy your day.